Welcome to the program, everyone. This is your Business Morning Show, live from Lagos, Nigeria's financial capital and the home of Channels Television. I am Bosun Namofaye. It's good to have everyone around the table for the next 1 hour. And of course, one of the big stories of the fuel subsidy of the Jonathan's administration is still one of the stories we're tracking for you. Of course, the case involving the billionaire businessman Femi Otedola on Monday continued his Crown testimony against the former House of Reps Farouk Lawan, who at some point was the chairman of the House Committee investigating the petrol subsidy of the Jonathan's administration. Of course, the former legislator was allegedly caught in a $500,000 bribery sting operations. The billionaire businessman Femi Otedola told our FCT High Court on Monday that the $500,000 he offered Farouk Lawan was from the Department of State Service, or the DSS, after Farouk Lawan allegedly demanded $3 million bribe from him to remove Otedola's Zenon Petroleum Limited from the list of subsidy scam in 2012. Mr. Otedola, speaking as a prosecution witness, says the $500,000 was given to Farouk Lawan in 2 tranches of $250,000 each and were recorded on security cameras set up in his living room. Lawan's solicitor, Mike Ozekome, however, queried Femi Otedola on why the DSS failed to arrest his client, Farouk Lawan, quote, when the operation was ongoing. Meantime, Justice Angela Otulaka has adjourned the case brought against Farouk Lawan by the ICPC until March the 8th for the continuation of the prosecution witness. Mr. Femi Otedola claimed, of course, in one of his testimonies that he was the one who alerted former President Goodluck Jonathan about the oil subsidy scam at the time, but the matter was ignored. So he says he was surprised to see his company's name on Lawan's committee's list of companies involved in petrol subsidy. And we're counting down to one of the biggest events of January. Of course, as you know, you start a new year and you have a lot of talk about the direction of the economy. So the Deloitte Nigeria's dialogue is scheduled for Thursday. And of course, you have all the big names coming down to Lagos. The Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, is attending, as well as the Honorable Minister of Budget and National Planning, Udoma, as well as the Director of Budget, Ben Akabweze. Also in attendance will be the FIRS Chief, Babatunde Fowler, and Dr. Doyin Salami, a faculty member of the Lagos Business School. Also attending are heavyweights in the business sector, such as Jim Ovia, founder of Zenith Bank, and of course the Kaduna State Governor El Rufai. All of them will be speaking at the January 31st event here in Lagos. So we had our first trading day yesterday. The market soft landed, although negative by 0.33%. Temple Ashaju, our business correspondent, is taking a look at some of the numbers for us. The NESD over-the-counter market managed less than 0.1% positive reading, but the debt market with treasuries and Naira bonds were bearish to start the first trading day with the political overhang of the Onohes suspension. Let's get Temple Ashaju into the room to take us through the market numbers. Temple, good morning. It's good to have you join the show from our studios at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Take it away from here.
Good morning, Bosin. Thank you for joining us here too. So we were down yesterday in equities market, some 0.26% on account of what we are seeing in the political sphere there. We had, like you said, Bosin, the Justice Onoge's issue is really hitting the market hard. If you look at the numbers that came in yesterday, it really reflected the position of a lot of the investors, as we've been saying, whether from the domestic side or from the foreign side, because yesterday there was a bit of less demand for securities at the debt market and, of course, at the equities market generally. Now, if you look at the equities market specifically, we ended some 31,344.24 points yesterday with this margin of decline, and the equity capitalization eventually settled at 11.68 trillion naira. Now, if you look at the volume, the activity level, which was really battered yesterday, volume compared to what we had on Friday, yesterday, Monday, we saw 222.68 million units of shares traded, representing a decline of 46.62% from the levels we saw them, some 417 million units traded on Friday. For the value, yesterday we had just 1.84 billion naira worth of transactions in the market, and that's some 41.38% decline from the 3.14 billion naira value that we had on Friday, the preceding session. If you look at the deals, now yesterday you realize that we had more deals, 4,150 deals compared to some 3,970 deals that brought in more volume, huge volume to the market by way of demand from a mix of the domestic and offshore investors. So yesterday, it tells you that investors are now waiting on the sideline, knowing that, yes, the U.S. ambassador is replying the federal government, following the federal government's presidency's response to the letter that came in from the U.S. embassy and, of course, the UK and EU embassy. Basically, these foreign folks that are the major ones that actually come in with some FPIs into the market. If you gauge the usual number that comes into the market from this FPI's pushes, it signifies a lot in the market. So this is what we're facing right now. And until this particular issue at hand is settled, we may not have that kind of a positive sentiment that we've seen in recent time. Going forward, what we might have to start seeing will be some kind of sell pressure and then capital flight again, which will resume, and that's not so good at this point in time. Yes, we know we are in the election season, and this speaks volume again to the market. So let's move on to what with sectors, how the sectors performed. If you recall, throughout last week, we saw so much of interest on the banking names, but yesterday alone, the banking sector of the market declined by some 0.50%. Fidelity Bank, which was the most actively traded company yesterday, lost some 5.60% and contributed more to the losses that we had on this particular sector. UBA was down 4.55%. You got Access Bank shedding 2.31%. Sterling Bank was down some 0.88%. Guarantee Trust Bank in huge volume was down some 0.72%, and FBN Holdings 0.65%. Of course, CMB was also down some 0.47%. So if you look at how these have performed in recent time, it just tells you that some people are probably trying to sell down, while a few others are probably just waiting, on the sideline to see what becomes of this matter. Yes, the National Assembly has now suspended its meeting, which was scheduled for today on this particular issue, but we'll wait to see how things pan out going forward. If you look at the consumer side of the market, we saw some declines there as well. Dangote flour was down, Cadbury was down, Honeywell flour was down, Dangote sugar was also down, and ended up impacting on the sector. Industrial goods segments, according to what we have, Beggar Paints lost some 9.68%, and that was the highest in that segment, but the index settled marginally higher, 0.01%. Ditto for the oil and gas segment, where we saw O&O and Total enjoying a few of interest there. Perhaps that the backlogs of the demands that we had seen on Friday that actually now came in yesterday. But if we have to go by what is going on in the polity, we might have to watch closely what the oil and gas will say in the markets today. Insurance segment of the market was also down 1.14% yesterday. But generally, Nigeria Microfinance Bank was the top gainer yesterday, gaining some 9.58%. You have some investors who are trying to quickly rebalance their portfolio in the light of a looming capital flight. So, but Beggar Paints, as we said earlier, declined the most yesterday in the market, some 9.68%. Generally, we saw just 10 gainers compared to 30 losers in the market, and of course, 64 other companies or other stocks remained unchanged in the markets yesterday, with Fidelity Bank coming in as the most actively traded company in the market. In terms of the oil and gas, there were just two companies that saw a bit of movement, and that's just O&O, which gained 5.15% to close higher at 5 naira 10 kobo. We saw some 2.3 million units of shares traded there. And of course, Total, which rose now from 200 and something naira to now 223 naira 30 kobo, rising yesterday by some 4.10%. Now, if you look at NASDO2C, Bosin hinted on this earlier. We saw a bit of gains there yesterday. Whenever you see some kind of negative performance in the equities market, we notice in recent times that some investors will quickly want to move to the unlisted securities market.
Tempo, I think we'll have more time.
Go by the fixed income, was all bearish yesterday.
Tempo, we're going to have more time to get back to some of the market details. Of course, the market would be opening as we speak, so everyone is running a bit of a full steam. Thank you. Let's pause it there just for a few minutes to bring in some other conversation. Temple Ashaju live from